So you've seen the title of this video, so I'm going to get straight into it since this is going to be a somewhat serious video today, but I think it's really important to share. So if this ever happens to you, or you know someone that gets into a similar situation, you kind of know the right steps to do or help and support. This didn't happen to me, but this did actually happen to someone in my city. There were some other things going on for this girl, but she actually has left the teaching program and she's gone back home. But this was probably definitely one extra factor that probably didn't help with her time to settle into Japan. I just wanted to kind of share the story, and if something like this does happen to you, if you are thinking of moving to Japan, then you kind of know the right steps to kind of help and support in this situation. So yes, as you can see in the title, so for this girl, her underwear was stolen from her balcony. I have heard that it's fairly common in Japan for underwear to be stolen off their balcony. But one thing that did shock me for when she told me what happened was she doesn't live on the ground floor. She lives a couple stories high in her apartment. And for me, I thought if you're a couple of stories high in an apartment, you should be safe from anyone stealing your underwear. We're clearly not. To be honest, when I moved here, everyone I know in my area, they live a couple stories high, and for me, I live on the ground floor. And I thought, if anyone's getting their underwear stolen, it is me, because my balcony's on the ground floor. Anyone can just kind of walk up and take my clothes. But to find that some person stole her underwear where she's a couple of stories high is insane. And who was stealing it is her neighbor. So how these balconies work is on your floor, all the balconies are connected together, but there's just a thin little barrier that kind of shut off balcony 1 to balcony 2 and balcony 3 and etc. And what some of these people do, depending where you have hanged up your underwear or your clothes, you'll hang it right next to the kind of shutter, and some people will happily just lean over and pull it off or take the whole hanger with them, or depending if it's fairly far, some of these people actually will get hooks to kind of hook the garments closer to them so they can pull it off. Or some people over in Reckless, they will actually climb over their balcony, scooch over so they can get onto the other person's balcony and then take it that way. So some people are really crazy, to be honest, to do this kind of thing just to steal underwear, which is just so wrong, so gross. But this is where I think the person went wrong, because she was leaving, she already decided she had enough of the teaching program and wanted to go back home, and she was in the process of kind of packing everything up. And then in this process, this event started to happen, and she didn't tell her supervisor, which I just think is the biggest red flag. She's let it slide, she's gone home, she's just gone, damage is done. And for me, this is where the mistake has gone. If this ever happens to you, or you know that this has happened to someone, don't let it slide. Especially if you're in Japan, you should have a supervisor, you should have someone who is your kind of like sponsor, the person who's kind of your protective guard while you are here. You need to tell them so then they can take it to the police or support you to report it to the police. Because I think what a lot of people forget, because I think a lot of the Western world has this idea of, yes, you go to Japan, there is the risk of someone stealing your underwear, and they go, oh, well, that's just Japan, and then they leave it and let it slide. But this is a criminal offense. Stealing underwear, and especially stealing ladies' underwear here, it is a criminal offense. So if this has happened to you or someone you know, you need to be going to the police to report it. Or especially if you are teaching English here and you're on one of the teaching program, tell your supervisor so they can help and support, especially if you don't have a high enough Japanese level and you can't do it yourself. They will be able to provide the language support. And also, because to be honest, if this happened to me and it is my neighbor, I would demand to be moving apartments. I do not want to stay in the same building with the thief who has been stealing my underwear. And also, because what's happened now, so currently for this said school and location, they haven't got an assistant language teacher. So when it comes to the next submission role, so when the new assistant language come in to replace her, I'm hoping it's not going to be a woman, because if it is a woman, the person who is left and not telling her supervisor has potentially put a target on the new person that comes, especially if it is a woman, since this girl excited to come to Japan, excited to become a language teacher. Because what happens as well, when you leave, you tend to, whoever's going to be the person that replaced you will tend to move into your apartment. So for me, the person I replaced, this used to be their apartment, and so on and so on. So with her not telling her supervisor, if it is a girl that is going to replace her, they have set her up to be targeted. Because also, I'm a big person on zero tolerance, because for this guy, he has done it, he thinks he has gotten away with it, so he thinks he can do it again. And then this kind of leads these kind of people to be more bolder, more brash in doing it, because they've already gotten away with it once. So that's, for me, is really worrying, because just for not telling someone, it sets them up to whoever is the new person. You're also putting them in danger as well. Now for me, I've tried to do the most I can do, because I just don't think, especially if it is a girl that does come and replace her, I think it's just not fair to potentially put her in that kind of situation, especially if the guy is still living there, and realistically that girl's going to get that apartment. So I did tell my supervisor about the situation, and I'm hoping she told that area supervisor about the situation, so they're at least somewhat aware. But for me, that's the most I can think I could help in that situation, because I just don't want another person to get targeted when this could have been avoided, or at least kind of somewhat more kind of support. Because I just think how it has ended currently is this guy thinks he's gotten away with it, and there could be some maybe issues down the line, which I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it was just a one-off case. And a lot of these times, if underwear stealing does happen, it is a once in a blue moon situation, but it does happen. And I'm very wanting, that's why I wanted to make the video, make it clear, if this does happen to you or someone, please tell the police, please tell someone about this, so then it can get reported, as this is a crime. And I'm big on, if it gets told and sorted and you have found out that the person has done this and they are convicted, it starts building this zero tolerance that people will think, well, I'm not going to do it because I can get in trouble and go to jail. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's a thing called broken window theory, where if one window is broken, people will see, oh, I can break another window because no one has fixed the first window. So I'm really big on kind of just stopping that broken window theory, where if there's anything I can kind of help to support or just avoid anything like this going in the future, I will try my best, because I just think it is gross and wrong, and I just don't like that nothing got done with it, just because it just sets that person that they could do it again. Because I think another important thing to add as well, because a lot of times people tend to not want to report it or share it because they feel embarrassed or they don't want to cause a fuss. But I think a lot of people forget, you aren't the perpetrator, you are the victim in this situation, so please share it. You know, there's nothing gonna be ashamed or embarrassing about it. There's just people out there who are just wrong and dirty, and they shouldn't be doing stuff like that, and you really need to share it, just because if you don't, they just have the mindset of they've gotten away with it and they can do it again. And also, this could also just escalate where, okay, they start with stealing underwear, then it goes to assault or groping, or even kind of more extreme situations. So if you can stop it as early, it just kind of stops that broken window theory. Also as well, I think if you are worried that someone from your balcony is going to do something like that, and you're worried about potentially underwear being stolen, things you can do when you get out here is, obviously, you don't have to dry your underwear on the balcony. You can dry it inside, or you can still leave it outside, because you might think, you know, I have the right to dry my clothes outside. I'm not gonna put them inside just on the potential fear. But if you still want that protection, then I really recommend either stick like a fake camera on your balcony, or get like a Ring camera, or just something that looks like a camera, because if there is a camera, people will tend to not do it, because then they think, oh, I have been caught, I've been captured, there's evidence there. So that's things I recommend. Even if you think your neighbour is doing it and you do want to take it to the police, that's the same thing. Buy a camera, stick it on your balcony, and then also just catch the video evidence of them doing it. So when you do take it to the police, you've got the evidence of them doing it, so prosecution and all that stuff can be a lot quicker. But yeah, that's kind of my just advice, you know, personally for me, do what feels comfortable for you, but don't be on the fear that I can't stick my underwear outside, because I think you should have the right to dry your clothes outside. Obviously, if it does get stolen, then there's no harm bringing it inside and moving apartments and all that stuff. But please just report it to someone, go to your supervisor, go to the police. That's just my biggest emphasis I want to get from this video. If something like this does happen, either to you or a friend, please get them to take it to the authorities, as it is a crime out here in Japan, and I really want to get that through people's heads. Like I've said earlier, you know, don't think sometimes if you are going home and if you are going to leave and you've had enough, that's fine. But just for like this situation, you don't have to do it for yourself. It helps another person down the line, since I am somewhat scared if it is a girl who takes her apartment, since the same thing could happen to them. But yeah, that's just my quick video. Just wanted to share that story, since I really don't want this to happen again. And same thing, if you come to Japan and something like this does happen, I want you to know what the right steps you have, since safety is a big thing out here, especially for being a foreigner, because sometimes I think foreigners are targeted more because of the language barrier, and I think the locals sometimes think they can get away with it more because of the language issue, and sometimes people don't realise about going to the police, or they just kind of get caught up with everything and they're in a state of shock. So please go to the police if something like this happens, or tell your supervisor or someone you know has good Japanese, so you can kind of get this issue sorted and you can move forward. But I'm really hoping it doesn't happen, but it's always better to know the steps what are available than to not be aware if it does happen. But that's today's video. If you want to see more Japan related videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Japan related video. Bye.